Hello everyone. So I recently pulled something that was reserved for the junk drawer. Uh, it was my first ever DAP. This is the Duo X2S. I decided after a while, it's just been there, and I decided to pick it back up. It's no wonder why this was such an important device to me back in high school. It's when I originally got it. Whatever it was 2 years before I graduated. And, this was super important to me. I honestly hate to say this, but it does very much outperform my current daily runner, the Hi-Fi Walker H2. And it outperforms it quite hard. It's really hard to say that, but it does. But does have some caveats. This thing is dead simple, and it's all text. That's all you're gonna get out of this thing, unless it's the graphic EQ. The only thing you're gonna see is just little icons and just text. Playlists are kinda useless, even though my first video is literally on putting playlists on this. I think due to the technical limitations, it could only store like a limited amount of playlists to itself. It's like 900 or something. So your playlist options are limited. EQ is almost useless. It's, way too harsh. I think it's like 3 decibel intervals. There are like nice modern settings like sleep timers, backlight, lock screen, off timer, backlight timer, but what it doesn't make up for features, it makes up in sound quality. For my headphone tests, for the tests I was using the Porter Pros with the, what are these called again? I did tests on those headphones, and it is incredible. For background on the X2S, X-Duo is a very established high fidelity company, but it's mostly amplifiers, and it's no wonder how they got it to have so much clarity and so much power. It is said this thing it could handle 300 ohms, something ridiculous like that. And it's obvious. It's so obvious. The headroom just makes it makes everything light work. These headphones were nothing to it. And it was obvious because the quality of the bass was just impeccable. And again, it's just, so much headroom, so much clarity. The spatial awareness and like separation of instruments from this is just incredible, I will say. For this to be the cheapest player from X-Duo, and probably the cheapest high fidelity player on the market realistically, it's incredible. Right now this thing is like $60-$70. I would easily pay over 100 for this. Oh, that's another thing with IEMs. There's a hiss with IEMs. I think it's because IEMs are so sensitive, and this thing has so much power. There is a hiss. That's something I should have said a lot earlier. But it's only 50. For the H2, I don't remember reading any specifics. I think I saw around 8 to 150 ohms. This player still has a lot of playback quality still, but to say they're on equal playing fields would be a lie. But I use the H2 for the features. It has good playlist support with Rockbox. It's mostly Rockbox. Album art, other crap like that. It's way more involved rather than this. Battery life, this thing, stronger than a mug. Back in high school, a lot of my testimony is gonna be from high school. I used this thing for like 2 years for high school. I would charge it. I don't know. I would try to not do it overnight because you know how that is with batteries. And I would use it practically the whole day, and it would barely take off 2 of the little battery nubbins, whatever the hell that is. Also, look at this screen. This screen is impeccable. It has like, the viewing angles are like, you could read it from any angle. It does suffer in the sunlight a little bit, but it just looks incredible when you're inside and everything. The H2 has good battery life too. Both of these players are USB-C, which is great for that. Now, would I consider the H2 worse, or consider the X2S as a replacement? Not really. First off, this is so light that if you have, these don't really make a difference, but if you have like studio headphones with like a proper thick cable and you just like jostle it, this will move. This will move a lot. Like, it could get knocked off the table if you're being so mean to it. It holds the cable proper, but if anything were to happen, it would go flying off the table. File management on this thing, it's pretty tough. It's pretty brutal. With the SD card in the player, it is sluggish. For doing tests on this in the first place, I took about 1 gigabyte out of my music library to sample with the SD card in the player, and it took way too long than a simple transfer like that. But you know, I just took it out and then used a adapter with my computer. But that's not really nice to do with music players. Like, when you put a card in, it's meant to stay there. The file scanning screen is something that's interesting. Back when I was using it, it would randomly I would power it on and it'd be file scanning. And this takes a while, a good minute to scan for its files. But sometimes it would randomly reset and then do file scanning, and depending on how much music you have, with the songs in it currently, it takes about a good 10 minutes to scan all the files. And also, another thing is the SD card is not flush with the body. I think you could see very clearly on the H2 that this was something they wanted in the design. You know, there's like no way. There's no way for it to accidentally pop out or anything like that. But for this, it's out there. I can feel it on my finger. And this has the mechanism where you push it and then it pops out. So if this is against something in your pocket, like if you put this next to your phone, there's a possibility of this popping out and having to reset your music library and do a search all over again. This is a new SD card, but the SD card that I originally had in the player was just sanded off. I don't know how much that is. I don't know how safe that is for flash storage, for it to just get shaved off. I'm pretty sure that's not supposed to happen to them. You know, this, it's whatever. It's whatever. Truthfully, I think it could all be ignored for the fact that it's far less than $100. For $100, like I said, I would pay $100 for this thing. For this to be far less than this is enough for you to get the player. Oh, I forgot it doesn't include a SD card. Okay, I love this thing. It's spent a lot of time with me. 2 years. And if it wasn't for the price and the performance of this player, I probably wouldn't be an audiophile. It's the reason I try and make videos about affordable and accessible audio equipment and audio players. So if you're looking for a very affordable, very bare bones player, the X2S is your choice.